Hello, this is Anna from Madame Sew. Today I have my favorite 10 sewing tips, and these are tips that I've been using for a while, so they're definitely tried and true. So, if you don't watch anything else of this video, this is the most important tip. When you're threading your machine, your foot needs to be up every time. You know, some machines won't even let you thread them without the foot up. You know, like my machine, I'll show you in a minute, doesn't let you. But many of the older machines, you think you're threading your machine, and what happens is that when the foot is down, the tension discs inside the machine close. So your thread is not going where it's supposed to go. Those discs are closed. So when the foot is up, the tension discs open, the thread goes in the middle, and when you bring the foot down, they trap it, and that's what gives you the right tension. So foot up always, okay? Some machines like this one have this little safety feature where when the foot is down, this little flap comes out and blocks you from threading. Okay, but it doesn't come with all of them. So just remember, always your foot up. Now, a little extra bonus tip. When you're going to unthread your machine, don't pull on your thread. You're pulling against the tension. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it's better to just cut your thread and pull from the needle. Okay, get your thread out. All right, and now that our foot is up, you can just thread your machine. Make sure you're going in all the right spaces. And now here's where your tension discs are, right in here. So you want to go all the way in. You know, you're sort of pulling your thread towards the body of the machine. So yes, you could sew without pins. It is possible, and it's not hard at all. You know, the thing, you need pins to keep both layers of fabric moving together. You know, the feed dogs of the sewing machine are moving the lower layer, or want to move the lower layer faster than the top. So you have your pins in there so that they're both feeding at the same time. You can do the same thing just by holding the fabric in a certain way so that that top layer stays where it is and that bottom layer can't go faster than the top. So first step is to match your corners and about the first inch or so. Okay. Now you're gonna slide it under the foot. Bring your needle down. That's going to act as an anchor, and now you can match the rest of the seam. Now, if you're making a garment and you have a notch, you're gonna work all the way to the notch. Okay, so this is how you hold your fabric. You put your fingers on, your first 3 fingers on the fabric, and your thumb is underneath. You slide it underneath, and now you bring your thumb on top. And now that fabric is totally secure, and those 2 layers are going to be moving at the same time. So with your other hand, you're just pressing down and guiding the fabric. Okay. And now when your hand gets to the needle, you just do it again. And I'm going to show you how to do it on a curve as well. Okay, so again, fingers on top, thumb under, and then turn so that your thumb is on top. And now we're getting to this curve. So now curves are a little trickier, obviously, because they're hard to move without stretching. So you want to be, you're going to work in smaller increments, and you are going to just, you know, gently hold it. Try not to stretch the fabric. All right, so now I'm getting to the curve, and the trick is on this hand. So I'm going to turn my hand. Before I was sewing like this, now I'm turning my hand like this, and my hand is going to move the fabric along that curve, okay? So I'm going to match. I'm holding it as best I can, and I'm going to start turning my hand here. And you go as slow as you need to go. So now my hand is turning, and as I get closer, I stop. I move down a little bit, and I repeat. you just continue doing it. So centered zippers look really nice, but they can be a little bit of a pain to install just because you have to work around the pull. So when you're installing the zipper, usually you'll have to start at one side, open it so you don't have the pull, start sewing, move the pull up. This is all while it's under the needle, so it's not that easy. And keep going, and then repeat the same like weird maneuvering around the pull on the other side. But there is a very, very easy solution to that, and it is to simply get a zipper that it's a little longer than you need it to be. So you're just going to secure it to your seam just like you normally would, with the zipper is closed and the pull is hanging off your fabric, and you're just going to sew it. Start on one side, use your zipper foot, go around the bottom, come all the way up, and then once you're done, you'll have to open it, remember that. So open it before you secure it fully, and just zigzag here and cut off those ends. And that's it. Your zipper is installed and you don't have to deal with maneuvering around that pull. Invisible thread is a really useful thing to have. You can find them made of nylon or polyester, and you want to find the polyester. The nylon will tend to yellow with time and get brittle and maybe break on your machine. But what I really like to use it for is to keep on my travel kit. And I always keep a length, and it's the only thread that you ever need to have on your kit because it matches every single fabric you could ever have to fix on the go. So just a nice little thing. When I found this tip, I was like, oh, I threw away all that cheap thread that comes with your traveling kits and that will break. Buttons that you sew with that thread will never last. This will last forever. Invisible zippers are a wonderful invention, and they're actually very easy to install. Don't be afraid of them. If you have a zipper, an invisible zipper foot, they're really easy. But, laws dictate that you will never have the right color zipper for your garment, but there is a very easy solution, which is to just paint the pull, because it's the only thing you're really going to see. And this I did with this Sharpie, or you can also use nail polish. Anyway, this is the only part that you're ever going to see. And if you get very anal, you can do a line down the middle if you think that it's going to be seen. But as you can see here, you really can't see it. The only thing you see is the pull, ever. The rest of the zipper is completely hidden. Rolled hems can be a pain. They're meant for very fine fabrics, and often there will be, some sort of synthetic that doesn't respond to the iron. So getting that beginning tiny little roll under the foot in the machine and start fitting it can be what trips you up. That's the really hard part. Once you start it, it goes by itself. So instead of trying to pin, trying to iron the fold, all those things, you can just use a glue stick, just a plain old school washable glue. So just a little bit of glue, and now you're going to fold it and keep it pressed for a second or two. And now a little glue on top and fold it again. And then I'll show you how to get it started on the machine. So we're bringing it under the foot. Okay, make sure that that little fold is under the needle. Bring the needle down to secure it. And now you can lift the foot again. Maybe use your owl or something else, like a pair of sharp scissors, to start threading. Okay, so once you get it in, bring it over a little bit. Now you can bring your foot down. Now the trick with the rolled hem is to keep this fold here as even as you can. Okay, you're giving it a little bit of tension and keeping it even. And to start, I like to grab my threads in the back and kind of help the fabric along to begin with. And there it goes. So you can see how nicely it turns out. and how simple it is, really. You know, it's just a matter of getting that first step, and then it just goes all by itself. Sometimes you have a really stubborn needle that just will not be threaded, and you know, you can use hairspray, you can use that rubbing thing, you can, you know, there are a number of tricks that you can use, but this is the one that always works for me, and it's kind of gross, but it works. So you just wet your finger, and you're going to wet the back of the needle, okay, the back of the eye, and now you're just going to thread it, and somehow, like, that little bit of water there, or, you know, spit, will attract the tip of the thread, and it works every time. But the best thing is that it works on the sewing machine needle as well. So if your machine threader is not working, or if you don't have one, this is an easy way to thread your sewing machine too. So when you need to square off your fabric, you've been told to match the selvages and then just use that as your straight line. The problem is that your selvages on a lot of fabrics are not actually straight, and using that as your straight edge can cause trouble. So I've been doing this for a really long time. It's kind of unorthodox, but it works. And you know, just recently I saw it endorsed by, you know, a real actual quilting expert. So I think you can trust me on this one. So when you're trying to match your selvages, you will often find things like this. These selvages are very fuzzy. This is a flannel and they're fuzzy, and honestly, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to match this. You know, I can get close, but it's not straight enough for me. It gives me a lot of agita. So, and other times they're just straight up very ripply, and you really can't deal with them. So what I like to do is kind of roughly match them, and then turn it over and make sure that my fold is really nice. It doesn't have any ripples, and sometimes I'm just going to fake it here, but often you'll match your selvages and you'll get this on your fold, and that is obviously not straight. So I actually use my fold as my straight line. So my selvages will be just roughly matched, and I will make sure that my fold is nice and straight. And often here on this side, they're nicely matched. But as we move over here, they're not quite completely matched. And that's okay, because on the other end, on my fold, I have no ripples. It's really nice and straight. Okay. So now that our fabric is flat, our fold is nice and straight, we can just use that fold to cut our straight edge. And we are going to align the ruler with the fold. And on this edge, it is pretty close to this half-inch line, but it's, you know, it's like, how am I going to use this to cut? I can't, because it's fuzzy. So it looks pretty good, but I think using the fold is just a much easier and more exact way to do it. So sometimes when you're trying to align the edges of your fabric, it can get a little unruly, especially with thin fabrics or slippery fabrics like this silk. And this is obviously just a scrap, but to illustrate the point, I am going to align these selvages. So I'm just doing a rough align and folding it on the table. And now, obviously, they're far from aligned. So instead of trying to manipulate your fabric and folding and unfolding, you can just use your fingernails and kind of put them down on your fabric and scratch that top layer, and see how they're coming together much more easily. And now you can just hold that aligned edge and scratch the rest of it away. And now move over and align. And you know, it's a silly little trick, but it really works much better than trying to manipulate the whole, especially when you have a long piece of fabric that you need to bring together. And sometimes it's the opposite. I need to scratch towards the edge, like here. All right, so there it is. It's just a simple little thing, but it works really, really well. So if you have a walking foot, and you should, it comes with a guide like this that you slide on the foot, and you use mostly for quilting, right? For quilting parallel lines. But turns out that this little guide can be used on your regular sewing foot. If you have Madame Sew's 32 presser foot set, it comes with an extra little attachment for your feet, and that one comes with a hole. But your regular, chances are that the one that came with your machine is also good for this. So let me show you how to use it. So chances are your presser foot holder has some sort of hole, often with a piece of rubber like mine or with a little screw like Madame Sew's, and you can just slide it in and, you know, adjust it to wherever you want. So if it has a screw, you'll have to tighten the screw so that it stays in place. And if it doesn't, if it has the rubber is pretty tight just to, you know, keep it in place as you're sewing. And you can just, you know, this is very useful if you were like applying a pocket and you want to have the seam parallel to a waistband or to the edge of a bag or something like that, or if you have a really deep hem, you know, like in a pair of nice pants, and you know, you can just use that as your seam guide. And it's, you know, I use it very often. And you just, you know. Well, I hope those were useful for you. And if you like them, let us know. We love to hear from you. If you try them, we'd love to hear how they go. And do follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.